The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Good morning and Assalamu Alaikum. You are tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. It's Friday, 22nd of September, and the time has now just gone 10 o'clock. Welcome to Mother's Planet, a show where there is always something to talk about in a productive and beneficial way. I'm your host, Neelum, and joining me in the studio this morning is my guest, Samina. Samina is no doubt quite known to some of the people in the community, so I will get her to formally introduce herself to the listeners a little later. But first, Assalamu Alaikum. And welcome to the show, Samina.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Thank you for inviting me onto the show.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for coming on my show. Because Samina, I'm envious. Oh. Okay, and I know that you've been doing some lots of amazing work in your garden. So I will be picking your brains later in the show. But first, Samina, how's your week been?
It's been all right. My last weekend was a really busy weekend, so I'm constantly catching up. Yes. So yesterday and today is my catch-up day, and I've ticked off most of the things off my list, so that's a good thing. That's good, yes. Yeah. At least you're ticking things off. I just feel like I'm adding things to my list at the moment. Oh, yeah. It's just, the kids have been back to school, and my youngest has started nursery, so I was hoping for some time, and I thought, yes, I can tick things off, and I just find that I'm clutching at claws for my time because it's just not there, and I don't know what I'm doing with myself. So the funny thing is, when I pick her up in the afternoon, she comes back and inspects the house to see what I did in those time that she was at nursery. And so I in the last hour before picking her up, I'm running around with the vacuum and making sure the house looks clean. Because, and she's the parent, is she? Yes, that's it. I know, she's checking up on me. So she just needs to know that while I'm at nursery, Mum's being productive. That's all it is. So yeah, it's been quite a busy week, and we've had crazy time with the weather. It's just it's been horrendous. Yeah, it's good for the plants and the garden. Yes. And yesterday was sunny, so I thought, you know what, I need to go out there and get loads of things done, because the rain, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing. Yes. It's a blessing. Yes. But for us gardeners, the weeds love it. Yes. So the weeds will, I find that once it's rained, the weeds they grow overnight. Absolutely. And you have to keep on top of things. Absolutely. I de-weeded my driveway, which is a bit different to the garden, but it can get really bad on the driveway if you don't pay attention. So I was fed up, and I thought, right, that's it, I'm just going to do it. And this is the week that we had that heat wave, so I was waiting for the shade to come to my driveway side so that I could just go out there and hack. It took me a good couple of hours to really dig up everything, and at the end of it I was so impressed. I was like, yes, it felt like I can see block paving, it's all clean. And then we had rain, and then yesterday when I came out, it's like I've never done anything. The weed has just grown back. It will come back. Just put some boil a kettle of water, and every time you boil a kettle, and there's a little bit of water left over, just take the kettle out on the driveway and pour it over the cracks. So don't boil a kettle of water especially, but any leftover water, just put it over the cracks, and that will kill the weeds from the roots. Oh, wow. There you go, listener. Tip number one for the day. My neighbours are looking at me strangely, thinking, why is she out on the driveway with a boiling kettle and with a kettle in her hand? And I tell them, this is why. And I bet it makes sense to them. I bet you're seeing them now. It takes a few days, but it works. Oh, good. I'm going to do that, definitely. Now my neighbours are going to think I'm strange, but it's working, so I'm going to do it because I'm fed up. I've got the de-weeding killing spray thingy, but I don't know how great they are. I've tried different brands and not all of them work. So I think the natural sources are better. So I'm going to give that one a go for sure. So listeners, it has been crazy the week with rain and sunshine simultaneously on the same day. So that's what's really bizarre, that we've had, I think yesterday there was a point where we had sunshine and rain at the same time. So, and was there a rainbow? Probably? I know. I did say to my younger one, I said, there's going to be a rainbow in the garden, and we tried to look, but we couldn't see any rainbow. So no, science didn't play into action there. So listeners, we are live on air, reaching out to all our listeners in Luton and surrounding areas through the airwaves at Inspire FM 105.1 FM. You can also connect to the show via TuneIn through the Inspire FM webpage, and you can also listen to us on your smartphones via the Inspire FM
app. We are also streaming live on the Facebook page, where you must leave a thumbs up, and also can leave any comments around today's topic. I'm also taking in text and WhatsApp messages on the studio number 07779 481 822. Now, in today's show, my guest and I will be talking about growing your own vegetables and looking at how we can get green fingered, basically, how we can try and successfully grow our own vegetables and fruit. Samina has been showcasing her lovely produce via social media, so I've roped her in this morning to hopefully pick her brains and get some tips for ourselves. So keep your ears peeled, and if you are tuned in this morning, get a pen and paper ready. And we have had a message come through, so I'm just going to share this with you. I just put, okay, yeah, salam alaikum to Brother Dawood, who's saying he's never used weed killer, he just pulls them out. So, yeah, if you have the patience, brother, that's a really good idea. But, yeah, it can get a bit mundane trying to pull out the weed. I've found that it hurts my hands. I
get scratches on my hands.
I don't, and I use actually washing up rubber gloves, and I find them being the best ones. But yeah, I do find that my soft hands cannot take it, so I don't like that. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think weed killer is either the way forward. So yes, kettle water is what we need to do. So get your kettle water out on your drive, and hopefully, inshallah, that will work. So Samina, before I get you to answer my questions, can I please get you to briefly introduce yourself to the listeners? I'm sure some are familiar with your voice, but for those who haven't had the privilege of hearing your voice.
So I have been on Inspire FM before. I have had my own show, and every Ramadan I do it now. So it was called the Education Express. So my background is I'm a teacher, and I still teach, and I love it. That's my second passion. That's my other passion. So I used to run the show here, and my day job is I'm a teacher. I run my own tuition centre. And I'm also a scientist, I suppose. I have a background in chemistry, and that's related to the gardening side of things as well. And that's it. I have two children. My son's at university now. My daughter's, she's 12. She's at high school.
Wow.
And
has she just started high school?
She's in year 8 now.
Oh, okay.
She's in year 8. And I have a very big family, and most of my produce that I grow is shared amongst my family and friends.
Lovely. Yeah. So I bet they don't have to go out shopping for them. They just wait for Auntie Samina to come with the vegetables.
No, but I grow things that you can't get in the shops, or things that don't taste like what they taste in the shops.
Because there is a difference. I mean, we've had a few successes in my garden. I was given a chili plant by Shana, and we both grew it at the same time. And she said to me that hers just didn't develop, didn't grow, and I've actually been using it in my cooking, the chili that's come through, and there is a big difference when you actually and I think you value it more when you grow it yourself, and you're cooking with your own vegetables. The year before last, we grew lettuce, and my son, he does not like salad, he ate lettuce in everything, just because it was something that we grew. And he's like, can I have it in my sandwich? Can I have it in my rice? Can I just have it cut? And he was just eating lettuce. I was like, wow. So it shows that, if you actually get the children involved and get them involved and let them do it themselves, they value it more, rather than it being shop bought, pre-packed, and it doesn't have that love to it like you would put in yourself. But we've had tomatoes and chili, and my tomatoes haven't quite been as great as yours. I've seen your pictures, and you've got quite a variety and different shaped ones as well, but they're not really going very red.
Okay, so your chili plant, is it outside or inside?
It's outside, but I may need to bring it in now, do you think?
So chili plants is what you call a perennial.
Okay.
Which means that they're not going to die down. So tomatoes will die down over the winter. So you'll never find tomatoes in the winter. But the chili plant, I've done mine already because mine was starting to die. You just dig it up. And with as much root as possible, put it into a pot, and you can bring it in. And then chop off most of the branches, just leave a few, and it's called overwintering. You're not going to get any more chilies off it, but you keep it indoors. And then next year in the spring, about April, May time, you put it back outside again, and it will start to grow again, and you'll get chili. So it saves you from starting off with a very small plant, as you've got a head start then.
Oh, good. Right, okay, there you go. A new word for us to learn as well. Will it flower or anything over the winter while it's inside? It won't. How will I know?
So I had 2 chili plants I had like pots outside. They just were not doing very well. We've had a weird summer this year. It hasn't been hot enough. So I potted them both up, brought them inside. They're on my kitchen windowsill and they're flowering.
Oh.
So I'm going to leave them, and because if they're flowering, flowers means you're going to get fruit, which is the chili. So I'm going to leave them and see what I get. But probably the flowers are just going to fall off. But I'm okay with that.
Yes.
And the leaves will fall off as well. And you're going to think, oh, that's dead.
Yeah.
It's not going to be dead. It will be fine. Just keep it in the kitchen. Or even in the garage if you've got space, but with a little bit of sunlight coming through.
Okay.
And then it will be fine.
Okay, so it humid, cold temperatures.
You don't even need to water it. So you just water. Make sure the over the winter, make sure that the soil is damp. And then you just leave it, and then maybe water it once a month just to keep the soil damp. Because in the winter it doesn't get hot enough for the water to evaporate or anything like that.
Yeah, actually, now that you've said about keeping the soil damp, I think that's something I'm not succeeding at. So, is there a special way of when you put plants in pots of how to keep the soil? Because I know my next door neighbour, elderly neighbour, she's passed away now, but she always used to put like polystyrene bits at the bottom and then put the compost on top, and she said it just gives it enough drainage space by doing this. So she said just put anything at the do you have any tips around how you
there's 2 reasons why you would put polystyrene at the bottom of a pot. One is to save money on compost, because if you've got a very big pot, to be honest, the first maybe 10-15 centimetres of that is going to be used by the plants that you're planting.
Okay.
But big pots are usually like 50 centimetres tall, and it's going to cost you a lot of compost to fill that up. So you fill it up with polystyrene. It also adds drainage. I put in, if I don't have polystyrene, I will put in like dead branches and twigs, or leaves, anything like that, pebbles, anything like that. I wouldn't go out and buy polystyrene or anything like that, but anything you've got in the garden, even like thicker branches of wood.
Okay.
And I'd put that in the bottom, and then I would fill up the rest of the plant. And then if it's natural materials like that, they will rot away naturally, and they will add nutrients back into that pot.
Oh, that's another. See, and there we go. We're recycling in the garden.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Well, I want to first start off with where your passion for gardening stemmed from. Because do your children share the same passion, or
when they were younger they did?
Yes.
My son not so much, but they share the passion for eating my produce.
Yes.
Yeah, they like it when I harvest and bring things over. My daughter more so. But I think I was thinking back to when I was younger. I wasn't really into gardening, not like I am now. And I think it only started probably when we bought our house and the garden. I thought there's no. I wanted lots of flowers, and I wanted greenery, and in the front garden and the back garden. And I just sort of like slowly started buying books and started getting interested in it.
Wow.
But I'm more vegetables than flowers, because I'm not very good at growing flowers. They always die on me. So vegetables, I just get more pleasure out of growing vegetables.
Yeah, and you get rewarded at the end of it. Flowers, and some of the flowers, I'm terrible. I mean, I get really excited in the summer, and I think, right, I'm going to go out and buy flowers. And sometimes I buy the small flowers that I'll just put in a little bed or pot in a pot or something. And my neighbour, he's very good, so he'll sort of have a look and say to me, so that's going to just survive for the summer. That maybe you could actually keep in the ground, and that will go. So I'm getting tips of him, so he'll tell me which ones are that are going to last me the whole time. So he'll say put that into the ground and leave that in a pot because they won't survive. So, but I'm like yourself. I think even despite learning and having him educating me, I'm still terrible at. This year I found it the hardest actually to try and find nice flowers and to put them out. And I think we brought the little packet seeds, and I've had them for years. So I said to the kids, let's just get these out. Let's just put them out in the garden and let's see what happens. And I think one of them said it was going to be a carrot plant, but we ended up getting tomatoes. So I was like, oh, this is really bizarre. So we'd pot them in separate pots, and then tomatoes, I got that app where you can just scan over them and it'll tell you what to do with the plant. And it said, this is a tomato plant. I said, no, this isn't. This is a carrot plant. And then when we started to see tomatoes, I was like, oh, it's a tomato plant. So, yeah, it's bizarre. So we've got lots of tomatoes, but they're all growing like baby tomatoes in our garden.
With your tomatoes, what you should do now, if they're not going red,
yes,
chop off all the leaves.
Yes, that's what my daughter did. She said she read it up somewhere. So that's so that, and I did think, I thought, well, I'll let her have them, but she's chopped off, because she said what's happening is the sunlight is getting to the leaves and not the tomatoes.
Yeah, so once you form fruit, so this is biology lesson for you.
Yes.
Once you form fruit, the plants need to concentrate on forming fruit. So the leaves are there for photosynthesis and making the glucose and the nutrients that go in the fruit. So you get rid of all of the flower or all of the leaves and then leave the tomatoes. The other thing I do, I don't wait for the tomatoes to go red on the plant, because of where we live and because we're getting into the autumn now. As soon as they start to turn a yellowy colour, even they have a blush of yellow, I take them off and I ripen them on my windowsill. It's much quicker.
Right, yeah. So because she's taken a few off, and I've got a bowl of where I just keep my bananas separate from all my fruit, because it just they will speed ripen otherwise. And she's just put them in with that, and I've seen that some of them have gone red, and I've chopped them up and use them in salads, and I've often had it at lunchtime. So she's come back from college saying, did you eat my tomato? I said, oh yeah, sorry, I used it up. I just saw it go red and I thought, yeah, well, that's good, let's just eat it.
And how did you find the difference in the taste?
Yes,
big difference,
yes,
right?
Huge difference. And the texture, the texture is just so different as well, and there was a huge difference in the taste. Actually, I've only over the last couple of years grown to like tomatoes. I never used to like tomatoes, because sometimes if you have a sour tomato, that's it, you could be put off life. So I think I had an experience like that just made me not like them. But when I ate this one, it was totally different, and it was very nice indeed. So you just said to me you don't actually like growing flowers, so you're more of, so is that how your garden is then? Is it more vegetables there than there are flowers?
Well, I grow very little vegetables in my garden. I actually have an allotment.
Oh, okay.
And it's just around the corner from my house. 2 minutes walk. And that was one of the reasons why I applied for the allotment. So you have to apply for these allotment plots. They are, and I was on a waiting list for 2 years before I got it. And then when they gave me my first plot, it was in the worst possible location, but it was the only one that was available. So I said, I'll take it. Yeah. Location-wise, what I mean by that, it was very shaded by trees, and vegetables need sunlight.
Yes.
But I took it, and I learned a lot in that first 2 or 3 years. And then after 2 years, they offered me another plot in a better location, and I took that one, and that's where I've been now for the last 3 years. So I've had my allotment. I've had my allotment for 4 years altogether. So that's where I grow my vegetables, and my flowers are in my garden. I do have flowers.
Yeah. So would you say then some of this passion's been driven by lockdown? Because I'm trying to count back mathematically where
before
we were.
Lockdown.
So it was before lockdown.
Yeah. I think I remember when we were younger, we used to go to Pakistan, and always I used to find that the vegetables and the fruit you eat in Pakistan is just so much more flavorful. Yeah. And I used to think, why is that? Why you eat a cucumber here and it's just water. Yeah. You eat bread here and it's like you're eating sponge, and anything like that. And it's because I look back on it now and I'm thinking it's because it was, in those days, it was organically grown. Yeah. And it, not necessarily homegrown, but organically grown. No pesticides, no fertilizers. And then I started off by growing coriander at home, and that's the easiest thing to grow. You can do it in a windowsill, you can grow it all year round. And when you grow coriander, a lot of ladies who are listening will know this, because our mums did this when we were younger. Coriander was always a standard. Yes. You grow coriander and it's in the garden, and you just go and get a handful to put into your curry at the end. And the whole house is filled with the aroma of the coriander. You go and get a bunch of coriander from the shops. The fragrance is nothing compared to the homegrown one. So that it comes from that. You want to when you grow your own vegetables and your fruit, the flavors, the smells, the textures, that you can't compare them to what you get in the shops.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I think that's the only herb that I'm confidently say that I've actually tried to grow myself. And I say the only thing I wanted to ask about coriander is once you've taken them out, how do you take? Is there a technique so that you don't have to keep because I've had to regrow them as soon as I've chopped off what I've needed. I found that it's not growing back. So maybe,
I don't know how people do that. I have to do the same. So I because once it starts to when it starts to flower,
yes,
you should take it off before it starts to flower.
Okay.
And don't chop off all the leaves. That's what I've been told. So
okay.
don't leave a couple of leaves and then it will regrow. But I find that it doesn't regrow in the same way. So I just it's called succession planting.
Okay.
So if you want a constant supply of coriander, you should plant one row, for example, every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Throughout the season, and it means that once you've used up one row, then the next row is going to be ready, and so on.
Oh, that's a good idea. That. Oh, I like these terminologies you're using. I should actually have a pen and paper myself here today and joining this. So the brother Dawood has messaged saying that he's got a fig tree. Wow.
Oh,
and this fruits every 3 years. Wow. I'd like to hear more about this fig tree because that sounds amazing. So it fruits every 3 years.
Why does it take 3 years to fruit?
Well, we have a question for you now. So, brother, if you are listening, why does it take 3 years, and how does it fruit? What are you doing to keep that growing? Because that's amazing. My mum and dad have a plum tree, and they have grapes growing in their garden as well. So, the plums, I think it was last year when we had that bout of heat. And it was just, they had plums in abundance. And my dad, bless him, he'd got on a ladder. I'm like, Dad, you shouldn't get on this. And he's like, no, I have to beat the birds. I have to beat the birds to it. And so, I was gifted lots of plums. So I think I attempted some plum jam, which was really nice. But the family favourite was plum crumble. We ate a lot of plum crumble, which was really nice. And I think my sister-in-law wanted to know the recipe because she said, I've got bags of it as well and I need to know what to do. And I said, crumble. And the nice thing about crumble is you can freeze them. So once you've made it, you can just put your crumble at the top. Don't cook it. Just put it in the freezer. And whenever you need it, take it out and bake them. So, there you go. I'm pleased that you're nodding because I've shared something with you.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm pleased with that. So maybe it exhausts the soil. I've noticed a lot of fig trees everywhere and the same happens. Oh, so maybe it's quite a hard-working tree. That's why it takes so long. I don't know.
It depends on how you prune the fig tree. So can we have a disclaimer here?
Yes.
I'm no gardening expert.
No, yes.
I'm no gardening expert. This is things that I've picked up along
it's your
the way.
Passion, yes.
Yeah. So from what I know, some varieties of fig trees, the figs. So there'll be two lots of figs. One lot of figs will develop in 1 year, and there will be smaller figs which won't develop that year. They'll develop the following year. So you're not supposed to cut off the branches with those smaller figs. So if Brother Dawood is pruning, he's probably not. He's probably leaving it as it is. But if you want figs to grow every year, what they say about fig trees is that they like their roots to be squashed back sort of in a tight place.
Okay.
So a lot of people, they grow their fig trees not in a tree but in a pot.
Okay.
In a big pot, because the roots are then restricted. And what the plant thinks, this is the logic behind it, the plant thinks, the roots are restricted and I'm not going to be able to get enough water, so I better start producing offspring, which is the figs. So it produces figs every year. That's what people do.
Okay. So I hope that advice helped there, because that sounds logical. Actually, now that we mentioned trees, I invested in an olive tree. But it's a small one, and I was really excited. But then I read the little label, and it said that it's more for decoration than it is to be eaten. So because I think of how it's been transported, they've had to put fertilizers or some chemicals in the soil. Mm-hmm. So they're saying that anything that fruits from it may not be edible. So I've worked hard on it. Well, actually, I can't take credit for this. My daughter's worked very hard on it. We use my husband's a big coffee drinker, so the coffee granules, we use that as our fertilizer for all our plants. So she's revived that plant because it was at one stage showing no signs of growth. The leaves were just shedding off, and I thought, oh no, this is not meant to be happening. And now it's grown. And even on the side of it at the bottom, it's got like little branches. Yeah, so there's more coming through. Yeah. So we are heading over to a break, and I think we have more questions coming in, which I shall tackle after the break. So listeners, if you have just tuned in, where have you been? I have the lovely Samina with me this morning, and we are talking about growing your own veg. And I've been picking her brain about how we can try and get green fingered ourselves. And we haven't even actually talked properly about what kind of vegetables she's grown. So stay tuned in for you to hear a bit more about the type of fruit and vegetables she has been growing and how. And I guess the key thing to learn is when to season our fruit and veg, because that's when I don't know when to start growing them. So that's something we need to listen out for. But for now, go refill your hot drink, cold drink, whatever it is that you're having with me this morning, and join us after a short commercial break. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Mother's Planet. It's Friday, 22nd of September, and the time has now just gone 10:30. I'm Neelum, your host, and I've been joined by Samina this morning, and we have been talking about growing our own vegetables. And we've had Brother Dawood messaging in about having a fig tree, and we've just both read your message, and you sound like you're quite a good gardener, actually. So you're in agreement with me that coffee really does work, yes. And this is something I only discovered this year, actually, and that's thanks to Shana through her gardening work that she did over the community this summer, that I discovered that. So yes, coffee really does work. And you've said that your fig tree sitting in a huge pot, and it's sitting directly on the ground, so the soil is quite chalky. So you obviously know what you're doing, and alhamdulillah, mashallah, you are getting figs, and that's that's amazing. That's a fruit. I was just saying to Samina that I think the most I've ever done herbs is coriander, and this year was chili, and tomatoes have been a consistent thing. But I think I need to step out of this comfort zone now and tackle some interesting veg, which is what I wanted to ask you, Samina. So what kind of vegetables have you grown?
So my staples are garlic.
Yeah. Okay.
So mashallah, I don't buy garlic from the shops the whole year. So I grow enough garlic on my allotment to give me a supply for the whole year. And with garlic, it stores quite well. I harvest it and I plait it and have it hanging in my garage.
Oh, wow.
And then I take whatever I need, take off a bunch and use it as I need to. And I freeze a lot of it as well. So I've got a big deep freezer. So garlic, this is the easiest thing to grow.
Okay.
Right. You don't even need to worry about watering.
I'm all ears because I want to grow my own.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the sort of thing that if you want to start out with something that's guaranteed results.
Yes.
You take a pot, you fill it with compost, not a teeny weeny pot, so probably the size of a little bin that you would have in your office. That sort of size pot. Fill it with compost, and you take garlic, a bulb of garlic that you get from the Asian shops. And then you split them until you get all the cloves. And then you just pop the cloves into this pot about 5 centimetres apart.
Okay.
And when you do it, the cloves, you've got a pointy end and you've got the top end.
Oh, yes.
So you must put the pointy end at the top.
Okay.
So the point has to be pointing at the top because the roots have to be pointing down.
The shoots are going to come through, yes.
And then you just water it once and then you just leave it, put it outside all winter. It will survive in snow, It will survive in hurricane, and then you'll start to see little green shoots coming out. Don't need to water, nothing at all. And then probably next May, the garlic will be ready. May is a bit early, but June. Okay. By next June, it will be ready, and then you can just pull it out and you'll have lovely bulbs of garlic.
Wow.
It's the easiest thing to grow.
And so you would suggest doing it in pots rather than in the ground?
So this is for people who don't have, a lot of people might not have the space, or they've got young children, so they trample all over everything.
Yes.
So putting it in a pot, but you can put it directly in the ground. So you can do that into beds.
Yeah.
You can do that.
A question actually I did have about when it comes to sowing seeds and vegetables, about the type of ground that you use. So, do you keep it in the ground? Do you have raised beds? Do you have pots? What's your preference? Do you think raising the beds is better? I've seen a lot of people now where they raise the beds a little bit from the ground. So it's in the ground, but it's not in the ground.
It depends on your soil. So where we are, in my garden and at the allotment, we have got what we call heavy clay soil.
Okay.
So it goes, when it's dry, it goes rock hard. And when it's wet, you can see when you water it, you can see the water like within puddles on top, and it takes ages to sink in. Nothing. It's very nutrient rich, but nothing grows in it. So you have to add fertilizer and compost and things like that to enrich it. So when it's like that, it's good. It's a good idea to have a slightly raised bed. It's down to personal preference. But if over the years, if you look after your soil, over the years you will see that the soil quality starts to improve. The more nutrients you put into it, the more you keep something growing in the soil, the better the quality of that soil will get. So you have to see what your own soil is like before you do that. I do a lot of work on the soil before doing anything.
Oh wow, yeah.
If you haven't got good soil, nothing's going to grow.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I'm failing, because I don't think I have very good soil. So I do cheat. I do a lot of things in pots because I just think I don't have to work as hard.
The other thing about pots is that you don't have to worry about slugs and snails, because a lot of people that I talk to, everything gets eaten, and slugs and snails are the enemy of the gardener.
Yes.
I have seen whole crops destroyed overnight. I've planted out things overnight and they're gone the next day.
Wow.
Including the stems, and it's so heartbreaking because you put so much love and energy into it, and the next day it's just been eaten.
So how do you deal with that? That's a good thing.
It's a constant battle. It's part of gardening, weeding and slugs and snails, protecting things from the birds and everything else that's going to eat it. So it's just, I call it a fact of life, and it's just part of the garden maintenance, I would say. Like you clean your house, and you have to clean every day. Every day you will be fighting with slugs and snails and birds. Every day you'll be fighting with weeds. So these are everyday things that you have to cope with.
Yeah, I guess so. But do you have any techniques of what you use? Because I know someone told me about putting eggshells.
I've tried everything. You try everything and anything and see what works, but I haven't found anything that works.
I think I've tried the eggshells, but I keep forgetting to do that one because I'm like, I've just got rid of the eggshells. But and after a while I don't like a lot of mess in my compost. I like to have a nice clean compost, so I don't like to put things in it that I think I'm just doing it to act as a deterrent for these pesticides. But so garlic is garlic is one of mine. Tomatoes, obviously, I grow lots and lots of tomatoes, so I like to grow varieties that you can't get in the shops. So you just buy a packet of seeds. At the most expensive ones I bought are about £3. Okay.
And then with that £3 of seeds, I can get about 50 tomato plants.
Wow.
And that will be enough to feed me for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The tomatoes I get from there. I grow, one of the most popular vegetables I grow is called tinda. It's a Pakistani vegetable, Pakistani tinda.
I'm trying to think of the English word.
So it's called apple. I looked it up because I didn't know what it was called. It's called apple gourd.
It's gourd, isn't it? Yeah.
So they're the size of an apple. They grow to a size of an apple. If you leave them overnight, they might grow bigger.
Yeah.
And the Pakistani tinda is very popular amongst my relatives. Everybody wants them. So they're always asking me, have you got any? Can you give me some? Sweet corn, green beans, courgettes, loads and loads of spinach, beetroot, potatoes, obviously.
Wow.
So this year I grew something called edamame beans.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever been to Wagamama. It's the chain. So at Wagamama they do edamame, which are these Japanese, I think they're soya beans.
Okay.
And I love them. Okay. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try growing them, and they grew.
Oh wow!
And they're delicious, absolutely delicious. So
how did you do that? What did you start off with?
I just got seeds. I just ordered seeds from Amazon.
Okay.
And then on the seed packets you have it tells you when to plant them and when to harvest them, etc. But if you're beginning and you don't know when to plant a particular seed, just YouTube it, honestly. There is so many gardeners on YouTube. Yeah. I did most of my learning through watching YouTube videos and following certain people on YouTube. Yeah. So just YouTube it and find out. And that's how I learned.
Yes, no. But I think we're going to have a lot of garlic growing across the town now. Because I think that's one of the ones that, because the fact that it's seasonal, you can have it, you know, at any point, and you can leave it outside and let it be. I think that's going to tick off a lot of boxes for many people, because we like things that are low maintenance. So garlic, I'm going to definitely try that one out.
My father-in-law, do you know what he does? He doesn't have... He's not strict with this is a flower bed and this is a vegetable bed. Yeah. Because garlic doesn't take up much space. It grows like in a one stem, like a stalk. Okay. Like onions. I don't know if you're familiar with onion bulbs or daffodils. I suppose you can compare it to daffodils. It's that same family. They don't take up much space. So wherever he sees space in the beds, in the flower beds, he'll just bury a clove of garlic in there. Wow. So you need to do that about October time. Don't do that now. Okay. October, November time, and then just leave it. Just leave it, and then next year you'll have garlic there. Yeah.
So you said sweet corn. Now, I saw your pictures of your sweet corn, and I have to admit my jaw hit the ground, because I was amazed, mashallah, how beautifully they had grown. And I always thought sweet corn was one of those things. So we went to Cyprus the year before lockdown, and where the villa that we lived in, it was called Bananarama, and I never understood it why, but then it made sense when we drove up, because there was just fields of leaves, and as we went closer there were like bunches of bananas hanging off these
farm.
So it's a banana farm, and I was amazed at how these bananas had grown. And I thought, well, it's hot here, and I guess, you know, it's the kind of climate that you need for this kind of fruit. So I put sweet corn in that. I thought that's how sweet corn is. You need to have a hot environment. It's not something that can be grown in the UK. But you proved me different.
No, you can grow it in the UK.
So how?
You just get the seeds. There's different varieties. The variety I grow every year, again from Amazon, it's a Mr. Fothergill's. If you're into seed sowing, and if you look at seed plants, Mr. Fothergill's, F1 Swift or something it's called. Okay. And you get a packet of seeds. It's got about 25 seeds in it. Okay. And you just put that I would say about May. Okay. You have to start the sweet corn. You can put it directly in the ground in June. Just get one of those kernels of sweet corn and put it directly into the ground. Just pop it in.
But if you're doing it in May time,
in May you need to start it off in pots at home. Okay. Because it's too cold. Okay. And because if you put it in outside in the ground in April, May time, it will die because it's too cold. It's still too frosty. Okay. So about June time, you can directly plant it in the ground and then just water it, and then the sweet corn will come up. The thing I would say about sweet corn is that just one sweet corn plant isn't enough. You need to grow sweet corn in a grid, not in a long line, like in a grid, because sweet corn is wind pollinated. Oh. So they have to be like, you can do, the minimum you should grow is 4 plants in a square. Okay. In a square grid, but that, you know what I mean. So you have to grow it in a grid. Yeah. And then harvest about, August, September time.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So would you advise that if anyone, I'm asking more for myself here, should I start off with doing them in pots first, or just wait until June and then put it into the ground directly?
I would just do June and get the ground ready. Yes. Wait until June. Yes. And then put it straight in the ground and cover it with some kind of just cover it with net or something if you've got garden netting. Yes, I've seen those. Yeah. Until the shoots come up, and then it will be fine. Because I've grown sweet corn. I've had so many failures with sweet corn as well. Okay. I mean, last year I grew it in pots 3 times, and every single time they died off on me. And this year I've got a new technique. I mastered it finally this year, and it's worked. So I don't plant it. I want my sweet corn to be ready earlier, so I grow it in pots at home first.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as someone impatient as me, I think I might do the same, because they would then fruit very quickly, wouldn't they? If you have done the work in the house and then put them into the air. So I think I'd be like that as well, but. Yay, let's see if I can do that. And runner beans. So are runner beans easy to grow?
Runner beans, I have grown them, but we don't eat runner beans. Okay. Yeah, so I like to grow what we eat. Yes. But my allotment neighbour, he gave me some some beans.
Okay.
I call them magic beans, and they were all mixed up. So I just planted them one year. I just put them straight in the ground in June, and they came up.
Wow.
The easiest thing to grow again as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so was it runner or just a mixture of beans?
It was different ones. It was runner beans, it was climbing French beans, it was the bush beans, the non-climbing variety, lots of different types of beans. And I just put them in and they grew.
Wow, that's amazing. So do you have a favourite vegetable that you like to grow?
Gosh,
it's probably quite hard.
So many, I love growing my tomatoes. I love growing sweet corn, and the taste of the sweet corn is out of this world. Tomato, sweet corn, I love growing. The tinder I like growing. Although we don't eat it much, but most of my veg, as I said to you, I give it out.
Yeah.
I was
just going to ask, so are you quite a cuisine? Like, do you are you quite good in the kitchen with your vegetables? Are you experimental with the food?
I'm the only one who eats the vegetables. My daughter, the cucumbers.
Okay.
All right. So she is, so she'll check in my bag when I go to the allotment. I come back and she'll check for cucumbers. She's crazy about the cucumbers from the allotment. And strawberries.
Yes.
I love growing strawberries. I make strawberry jam.
Oh, nice.
So as with strawberries, you know what they give out strawberry baby plants. So you start off with maybe 3 or 4 strawberry plants you get from B&Q, and then you leave them in the ground. And next year, if you leave them where they are, you'll get 10 plants because they give out baby plants. They're called runners. So you can have more.
I had a little hanging basket actually of strawberries, and the first year we had it, we got quite a few fruit. I think I probably got about 6 or 7 that sprout through. This year I've seen the flower, and I've seen they've come to that green little bit, but they haven't got bigger. And now I'm not going to get anything because it's too cold now.
The problem with hanging baskets is that you have to keep them watered, and they dry out very quickly. So I just prefer to put my strawberries in the ground.
Yeah, so I think next year I'm going to have to make some space because I have young boys that like playing football. So I'd either have to get rid of them and then grow my. But I think I'm going to have to get serious about putting things into the ground. So maybe have a no-go zone area for them.
Make a little fence kind of thing and sort of warden it off.
Yeah, I think I'll need to make an area for myself for my in the garden. So you like to give out your vegetables, and there's nothing that you're using yourself cooking.
No, I use tomatoes. I use them as well. So
what do you use the tomatoes for? Do you make it?
So last year I did try to can the tomatoes.
Yes,
and I got the jars and sterilized them and did all of it. So you have tin tomatoes. I thought I'd do that. But it didn't work.
Oh wow!
they went off. So this year I got one of those big chest freezers.
Okay.
And just secondhand on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I freeze my tomatoes now whole.
Oh, okay.
And then I use them in cooking. So when I want to use them in cooking, you take out a tomato, and they're massive. They're the size of your hand, my tomatoes are. And then I just pour boiling water over it, and the skin comes off
peels
as well,
off
easily.
Yes.
And then you just use it in your cooking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
that's a good idea.
Yeah. Most things I freeze now.
Yeah, but that's really good because they're frozen, and when you put the water on it, it sort of thaws
it comes off much quicker than the skin does.
So that's a good idea. Actually, I've never thought of it like that. So that's quite good. So I mean, with the type of vegetables that you've grown, have you tried pickle, like any of your own, a jar, like they call it, a jars?
Not yet.
I mean,
I do that with beetroot.
Okay. Oh wow, you've grown beetroot.
The beetroot, you have to boil it first, and then the skin peels off like potatoes. It's like that. And then you chop it up into small bits, and then I pickle it with mixture of vinegar, water, sugar, and something. I can't remember the recipe.
Yeah.
So I've done that with beetroot, and I haven't pickled anything else yet.
Yeah, no, because I think when I hear a lot of the names of the vegetables you've mentioned, I think, oh, that tastes nice in a pickle, because I love gherkins. So and you can get gherkins mixed with other different vegetables in there as well. So that's quite nice. So in all your, I mean, I know some of it you've mentioned as you've gone along, the challenges that you faced, but what vegetable has been the most hardest for you to grow?
Carrots. I can't grow carrots. I have tried so many times. I was successful once during lockdown, and I grew them in a pot. And it wasn't that many, but I was successful, and they were amazing.
Wow.
And I've tried so many times after that, and I just can't grow them. Wow. They just don't come up. And everybody else has hundreds and hundreds of carrots. I'm thinking, why can't I grow them? I just can't seem to do it.
No, carrots are an odd one. We did carrots, and again, I did it in a pot, but it was a large pot because I know they grow down, so you have to pull them up. But they turned out like baby carrots, but for the kids it was enough that they for them to see a small orange thing at the end of it, it was enough for them. So, but that's, I do think carrot, but I'm finding a lot of vegetables that you have grown successfully very difficult. So I think my key thing is to know when to start sowing the seeds, and I think that's what many of us So is it pretty much the same across the board with all the vegetables?
Some vegetables you can start early. So most seed packets are a rough guideline, but I do find that most people who go into gardening, and I've done the same, because you're so keen to do it, we start planting things out too early.
Okay.
And it's the days are too short here, and it's too cold.
Yes.
So there's something called your last frost date.
Okay.
So in the UK, usually in Luton, our last frost date is middle of May time, and this means that our nighttime temperatures will not go below zero, because once you go below zero, that is what kills off the plants at night. It could be lovely and bright in the daytime, but it goes below zero at night. So this is the mistake that most people make. Things that you can start growing, I said to garlic, is about November time. January is you grow from home. You grow from seed is peppers and aubergines and things like that. Chilies, January time. But everything else, I would wait until April, May and June. I would wait until then.
So I guess the key recommendation here is, if you are someone like myself that can't wait, try and seed them in the house, like make pots first.
My house, every single windowsill is full. You come to my house in April and every single windowsill is full of plants and seedlings that I've started, because I haven't got a greenhouse, so I just use, and the sun shines in my kitchen all day, so it's perfect. I have the same actually, so I think I'm going to have to use my windowsill. So you don't have a specific technique, you've just do for pesticides? Because I mean, I do find when I put things in my kitchen, I used to get a bit icky about it because the little flies. The little flies. No, you have to just put up with that.
And I think that's what put me off, because I think I had like some
but
things.
That's because those must be in your soil. So you have to. There's something you can do to clean out the soil, but I can't remember. They're midges, aren't they? They're called midges.
Yes.
You have to do something to clean it out. So don't use old compost. Use new compost.
And I think that's where I'm guilty actually, because I'll buy a bag and I'll keep it for a year or so, and they'll say, "Oh, I've got a bag in the shed somewhere," so I'll pull that bag out, but maybe that compost is
But don't throw that compost away. Just put it in your beds. In your beds. And also another good thing for good soil, so many people they cut their grass and they put the grass clippings in the brown bin. Don't do that. Put it all into your beds. Don't waste it.
Oh wow.
Because that grass is going to rot down, and it will add nutrients into your soil.
Oh wow.
So it's better to do that.
So the only thing I have done with my grass is if I've got patchy areas in my grass, actually this is something my husband discovered when he used to cut the grass. He's stopped now, I've taken over. But we just put it back onto the patchy areas, and I do find that if I put the grass seeds and then the grass over it, it does grow.
It stops it from drying out, because the grass seeds need to be moist to be able to sprout. But the grass clippings, just put them onto your put them onto your beds, or even on top of your pots. So you've got, for example, roses growing out of a pot. And then take some grass clippings and put them on top, so that it looks like all the soil is covered with grass. And then that will do two things: the grass will rot down and it will add nutrients to the soil, but it will also stop water evaporating from that pot. So it means your rose bush is less likely to dry out.
I think that might be reason why my chili plant did so well, which is really bizarre. I'll have to send you a photo later on. But where I pot my chili plant, for some bizarre reason, I've got grass growing around in the pot.
Okay.
And the chili plant's still thriving and growing, but there's grass. And my daughter said to me, just clip it, don't get rid of it, because I was going to yank them out and say, why is there grass in this pot? I don't want grass in here. And she said, no, I think leave it, because I think it's adding I think it's adding benefit to the chili plant. So she's actually quite a novice. I think she would love listening back to this show when she's back from college, because she loves going out. She finds it's her me time, and I'm sure
me too. Yeah.
I'm sure you find that it's your little haven that you can just go out and take time, and that's how she sees her garden. So she just goes out, and so I've got a patio, and on the wall I've just got loads of pots of everything, and she'll just go out and pick, and just that's her time to do that. So I think and how does it make you feel when you go out in your garden?
It's when you I find it quite difficult to in my day-to-day life, because of my work and stuff. There's so many responsibilities and things I have to do, so I find it very difficult to focus and to finish a task and do it properly without getting distracted. So when I'm in the garden or when I'm at the allotment, I just switch off from everything, and it's just mindless tasks.
Yes.
A bit of digging, a bit of weeding, a bit of pruning, a bit of harvesting, and I put on an audiobook, and I listen to audiobooks while I'm doing it.
Wow.
And hours will pass and I won't realise. And I don't care about the hard work. I'll be out of breath, I'll be sweating, and I don't care, because I'm just in the zone. The sun's shining, you hear the birds, you're in nature. And the colour green, psychologically, it has a lot of benefits. So you should always have a pot plant somewhere in your house. Always have one plant in your front garden or your back garden. I think also not for your sake, but for other people's sake. When you're walking along a street and you see a beautiful garden, you want to stop, right?
Yeah.
And you want to say, oh, subhanallah, mashallah. You just praise Allah's gifts and glory.
Yes.
And you should always try and do that, I think.
Yeah.
I think it brings pleasure to you, but it brings pleasure to other people as well.
And I think that's such lovely advice there, Samina, because that's very true, because I've done that. I've walked past and I've seen something and I thought, wow, mashallah, that's amazing. That's really nice. So that's a lovely note to end our show on there. So Samina, any little top tips? We've got about 50 seconds that you want to share with the listeners today on your gardening. Anything that you could share with that? You've said some amazing things so far, and I know that you've shared the fact that if you want to grow anything and you're impatient, do it all indoors first and then take it out. So I think that's that. But thank you so much for your time today. It's been amazing hearing everything, and I know I'm definitely walking away a bit more green fingered, and I'm going to definitely, I think the first thing I'm going to start is garlic for sure. I'm going to start some garlic. The irony is my nan came from Pakistan and actually grew garlic in my mum's garden, so we grew up with our own garlic. I just never got brave enough to do it myself. But Jummah Mubarak to everyone tuned in this morning, and wishing everyone a blessed Friday. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.